Tonight, the KSL Investigators examine a unique process created in 2019 to give victims of crime in Utah a second shot to seek justice. The legislation passed with bipartisan support on Utah's Capitol Hill.
Daniela Rivera has been digging into how that legislation is working in practice. It is the latest in our Failure to Protect series. Daniela?
Well, Mike and Deanie, Utah is the only state in the country with this sort of second look review process. Here's how it works. Any first-degree felony case that county attorneys decide not to prosecute can be sent to Utah's Attorney General's office for review. And our team found every case submitted so far deals with sexual assault.
He seemed like a normal guy.
A date turned violent.
I was sexually assaulted and choked. I feared for my life that night.
Riley Ray reported to police immediately, got a forensic exam, and soon learned she was one of several women accusing the same suspect.
That was just like mind-blowing. That's a good girl.
But nothing compared to what she felt when Box Elder County prosecutors said they couldn't move forward with her case.
And they called and said that there was no case, that there was no evidence.
In decades past, that decision by a local prosecutor marked the end of the road for survivors seeking justice.
They told me there wasn't anything I could do, and I had to move on.
But Riley's dad, Paul Ray, was a state legislator who pointed her to Utah's newly created second look process.
When the AG's office contacted me and said that they would pick up my case, it was the biggest relief ever.
The AG's office found additional victims and charged Braden Brailsford in the sexual assault of 7 women and girls under the age of 20. Thanks to that second look, he's now convicted as a serial rapist, serving 20 years to life in prison.
Horrific stuff.
Yes.
And y'all got him.
Yes.
Che Arguello is the dedicated second look prosecutor in the AG's office. He says since 2019, they've reviewed cases involving at least 66 accusers. They've closed or declined 35 cases. Several are still under review. They've filed charges against 4 men. Many cases, few charges. But Arguello says that's to be expected. By the time the reports reach him, he says they've already gotten a careful look.
I think the value in 281 should be measured not in the number of cases that we file, but by the process itself and the ability for victims to have a different set of eyes with significant experience look at the case.
Arguello says the AG's office is a safe space for survivors of sexual assault, and Riley found that to be true.
The first thing that Che ever said to me was, "You can do this, and I believe in you."
But several other women tell the KSL investigators they had a different experience.
And I felt so betrayed through this whole thing.
Tabitha Bell once championed House Bill 281, but now
I would not recommend them touching one more survivor's case.
Tabitha says her experience was traumatic and at times inappropriate.
I remember Craig Barlow asking me, have you had any other sexual partners? You can tell me, even if you're not going to tell your mom. I can keep a secret.
That interview, conducted by Justice Division Director Craig Barlow, was not recorded, but Barlow and 3 other AG employees who were in the room created written statements about what happened, most dated between 4 and 6 months later. Tabitha says these statements misrepresent what happened that day, including this claim by Barlow that Tabitha requested her victim advocate leave the room. In a sworn statement, the advocate said that claim is 100% false.
Did you request that she leave the room?
No, not at all.
Tabitha did not ask for the victim advocate to leave the room.
Attorney Greg Fairbrush was also in the room representing Tabitha. Tabitha and Fairbrush say after Barlow directed the victim advocate to leave, he surprised them by reading a graphic account of the reported assault from the suspect's perspective, who had claimed it was consensual. An experience Tabitha says was more harmful to her mental health than the assault she originally reported to police.
So overwhelmed with everything that I had been told, what I had been through in the interview, how it had been handled, how I felt not believed.
The AG's office declined to prosecute Tabitha's case, and Arguello wouldn't discuss it with us, or the case of another woman who also requested a second look.
They bungled this.
Attorney Jana Tibbetts says her client tried to use the new process, but was afraid of retaliation from her attacker. A man Murray City's police chief even warned in this letter was considered high risk. Tibbetts says because of that fear, they asked to be alerted before investigators contacted the man. During a phone call with Barlow that Tibbetts recorded, they were told,
"We may or may not have to talk with them, but we're not going to give you that kind of information."
Tibbetts says her client didn't feel safe moving forward and withdrew her case. The suspect was later arrested in Idaho, charged with shooting two police officers.
There's consequences for not having a system that is hospitable or even remotely sensitive to victims.
Our work with victims is critical. That really is the heartbeat of any case that we want to advance to justice.
Patty Powers is a former prosecutor who now helps train and teach best practices for prosecuting sexual assaults.
There usually is not a reason to ask victims about sexual history. If victims want to have advocates present, they should be present. We need to respect all of their rights, the right to information, the right to notification.
If a survivor leaves the House Bill 281 process feeling wronged, feeling re-traumatized, feeling I wish I'd never done this, who's responsible for that?
I am. At the end of the day, it's my decision. I make decisions not on who's going to be happy or disappointed by the decisions I make. I make decisions by what I believe is the right thing to do.
Our investigation revealed both Tabitha and Jana's client filed formal complaints about their experience with Utah's Council on Victims of Crime. Right back here tomorrow night at 10, we'll hear from the chair of that council on why he says even the process meant to protect victims' rights is failing Utahns. Mike and Deanie.
Daniela, thank you. If you or someone you love has experienced sexual violence, help and support is available now. The number for Utah's 24-hour sexual violence crisis is available there on your screen.